In accordance with the Texas Open Meeting Act, I hereby convene this meeting of the Board of Directors of the LCRA Transmission Service Corporation. Today is Wednesday, May 21st, 2025, and the time is 9:13. The quorum is present, and the General Counsel will report each director who is in attendance. As a reminder, if you'd like to make any comment concerning LCRA TSC matters today, please sign in at the registration table that's in the lobby. This time, I don't believe we have anybody signed up for. Okay. Chief Operating Officer update, Mr. Chris Feldner. How are you doing, sir?
Yes, sir. Doing great. Good morning, Chair Cooper and members of the board. I'd like to start by providing an update on LCRA TSC's successful ERCOT weatherization inspections. In January and February of this year, transmission hosted ERCOT inspectors at 13 of our substation facilities to demonstrate we completed all winter weather preparation measures. To help ensure reliability and as part of our ongoing maintenance programs, we conduct ongoing inspections to verify operational readiness of equipment, evaluate equipment conditions and overall health, and identify any immediate repairs as necessary. As a result of staff efforts, ERCOT found all sites in compliance with PUC regulations during its winter season inspections of LCRA TSC substations. Here are some takeaways. Inspectors made multiple positive comments about the cleanliness of our substations, equipment condition, and technician support. Inspectors expressed their appreciation to us for filling out the checklist ahead of the inspection, as LCRA TSC is the only entity that does this. So we do our homework. And one inspector suggested that our methods and practices should serve as the basis for a best practices manual. So very proud to hear this sort of feedback. Having successfully completed the winter weatherization inspections, we now look ahead to the summer season, starting as soon as June 1st. Last summer, ERCOT completed inspections at 30 of our substations, and we expect about the same this year. I'm very appreciative of everyone's contributions and the outstanding work of all the employees involved in this process so that our substations are ready for the summer season. I'll next provide an update on the Permian Basin and related transmission system build-out, which supports increasing load levels in ERCOT. The Permian Basin Reliability Plan has been a priority for Texas leaders for several years. House Bill 5066, passed in 2023, required the PUC to direct ERCOT to develop a reliability plan for the region. The Permian Basin Reliability Plan evaluated 345 kV, 500 kV, and 765 kV solutions to provide the bulk of improvements needed to import power to the region. Last month, in April, the PUC approved the Permian Basin Reliability Plan, including the use of 765 kV electric transmission paths to bring power from other parts of the state to the Permian Basin area. This will be a new voltage class in ERCOT and represents the first new transmission level voltage addition since the early 1960s. Very exciting. LCRA TSC has already started to work on several capital projects and expects to implement transmission system improvements related to the Permian Basin region, estimated at about $1.9 billion, a significant part of our upcoming capital plan. Some of these projects, including the new 765 kV paths, will require LCRA TSC to seek approval from the PUC to amend its Certificate of Convenience and Necessity, or CCN. One of these 765 kV transmission paths is planned to connect Encore's Bell County East substation to LCRA TSC's Big Hill substation in Schleicher County. Those substations are about 195 miles apart, very large area. The second 765 kV line will connect also LCRA TSC's Big Hill substation to Encore's Sand Lake substation out in Ward County in far west Texas. These substations are about 175 miles apart. In each case, LCRA TSC and Encore will build half of those new lines. Several LCRA teams, including regulatory, supply chain, project management, real estate, telecom, and transmission, already have been hard at work at preparing for these important projects. Chair Cooper and members of the board, this concludes my remarks. I'm happy to address any questions you may have.
Questions, a lot of things going on. We're going to hear some more here in a minute, but if you have questions.
Certainly are.
Chris, we're going to be discussing it a little further here in a minute, but questions for now?
Is there any difference in the 345? I mean, obviously there's a difference, but in the structures or anything like that, or is it?
Yeah, to implement 765, you've got larger structures, you've got a wider right-of-way, you've got different design elements, because it is a significant jump up from 345 kV. That allows us to traverse and pass a lot more power over the same, given path. But it is a very different design, which our folks are tackling.
Same height and all that, I'm assuming?
They'll be slightly higher.
Okay.
Yeah, a little bit larger because of that higher voltage for
We'll bring
safety.
y'all some visuals next time we meet.
Yes.
So we can show you the pictures to get perspective on, these are like mini skyscrapers, that's the best way to put it. I mean, these are buildings compared to 345. We can look at some pictures and show you all the different dimensions and the width, to Chris's point.
Do a little show and tell.
No, they'll show it to you, yeah. We can also show you and update, we'll talk about this a lot
Yeah,
today,
we've got-
off and
we've
on.
got- we've
We
got
can show you the visuals, also show you the map that we're looking at and kind of the timeline, and they're doing a brilliant job of getting that all ready. And Chris and I are spending a lot of time talking about this, and we're teaming it a little bit differently than we have in the past, because this is the first time we've ever done 765. And so it's exciting, and it's 1.9, the number gets bigger every day. I see Chris is like $100 million more. I'm kind of kidding. So it's exciting for us, but it's a scope and a project that we're going to go embrace, and it's happening with 3 other companies as well. They're doing it in the Permian Basin as well.
So you see that coming more this direction in the future?
I think so. I think these are the first sort of tranche, if you will, and they're well suited to sort of support the geography of the Permian Basin region. But once you've got 765 kV established, it's quite likely that we see more of these facilities built out in other parts of the ERCOT region.
We're going to have some long discussions about all this, but at this time, but here shortly. Anything else, Mr. Cullen?
No, sir.
Thank you for your report. Appreciate it. Okay, financial report. Mr. Travis, again.
Good morning.
Howdy.
If you will turn to your the second item in your book, the financial highlights for April 2025, I'll walk you through those. And walk you through the fiscal year-to-date numbers as well as the forecast for the fiscal year-end 2025. For LCRA TSC, our year-to-date numbers are as well as our year-end forecast, reflect the delay in the approval of our rate case. As we previously communicated, the FY25 business plan assumed that those rates would be in effect at the beginning of the fiscal year, but they weren't approved until November. But even with that, we're expecting to end the year we're expected to exceed our budgeted performance expectations at year end. On page 1, chart A, we show net margin for the fiscal year. Net margin is revenues less expenses, but before debt service. The bars represent the year-to-date activity, while the blue diamonds represent forecast for the fiscal year end. The net margin year-to-date is better than budget by $22.6 million, or about 6%. Our revenues year-to-date are $25 million favorable, or 4% higher than budget. This is being driven by higher miscellaneous revenues, higher interest income, and those are offset by lower cost of service revenues as a result of the rate case delay. The largest component of that miscellaneous income are revenues associated with a transmission line that we're doing, a transmission line project that LCRA is constructing for Austin Energy. This project wasn't in the current year's budget, and because it's for a third party, we are accounting for the cost of the project as an expense, and when they pay us for that activity, that's a revenue. We discussed this project in the April TSC board meeting when we requested authorization for amended expenditures for FY 2025. So we're doing the work for Austin Energy. They're paying us, those are revenues, but we've got those revenues cover the expenses plus some. Expenses are higher year-to-date by about $2.9 million, or about 1%, due to the higher outside services, again, associated with that specific project, and higher facility lease expenses because of the delay in the rate case. Those are offset by lower enterprise expenses, lower labor costs, and lower transportation expenses. The expectation for the year end, better than budget net margin of $11.5 million, or about 2%. Revenues are expected to be higher than budget by $31 million, almost $32 million due to the factors I just mentioned that are driving the year-to-date positive variance. That's higher miscellaneous revenues, higher interest income, lower cost of service revenues related to the rate case delay. After this year, we won't be talking about the rate case delay. Expenses for the fiscal year are expected to come in higher than budget. Again, higher outside services due to that project, and higher facility lease expenses, offset by lower labor cost, assigned enterprise expenses, transportation expenses, and miscellaneous expenses. On Chart B, you'll see that we're currently expect LCRA TSC to end the year higher than the business plan debt service coverage target, which we had forecasted a 137 or budgeted a 137, and we expect to be at a 1.41. That's being driven by that better than expected net margin. Board metrics are on page 3.
I'm sorry.
Yes, ma'am.
Can we go back to the debt service coverage?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you remind me, did the PUC make any changes to what we asked for in our rate case?
No, ma'am. They gave us the 150 coverage, which is then put into our rate of return.
Okay.
Yep.
Board metrics are on page 3, and the detailed financial statements are on pages, board metrics are on page 2, and the financial statements are on page 3 and 4. Be glad to answer any questions you may have about our fiscal year to date and forecast.
Questions for Mr. Travis? Thank you very much, Jim.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it. Okay, we'll now take up the consent agenda, which consists of only the prior meeting minutes, beginning on page 7. You have a chance to review those. I'll entertain a motion. So moved. Have a motion?
Second.
Have a second. Further discussion, additions, corrections? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion passes. Okay. Still no more public. Okay, item 4. The LCRA TSC Board Policies, T102, T301, T401, T405, and T601. Ms. Sebastian, would you please give us a hand here?
These 5 board policies are part of our review process that we started to undertake in fall. We have 40 board policies that include the LCRA board and its nonprofit corporations. With this set, we're going to be about halfway finished through the whole policy review. I'm going to, these items, this is for a discussion item. I'm going to hit on the highlights of the changes within these board policies. Please ask questions. We'll bring these back to the board in June for approval. And so if you have changes or suggestions, please let me know and we'll incorporate those into the policies for June. Starting with board policy T102 on authorities and responsibilities. There are minor changes in this to conform to the current CEO delegation of authority. Board policy T301, finance. Most of these changes are cleanup and conform to current practice and regulatory requirements. T401 on land resources. This has a number of red lines. Primarily, this is for clarity and consistency. We wanted to streamline this policy and increase the thresholds that are required for board approval for different items. T405, we don't suggest any changes. And board policy T601 on wholesale electric service policy. The proposed changes are to align with our current tariff and to remove any obsolete provisions. So with that, I'll pause, let you take a look, and please let me know if you have any questions.
Questions for Ms. Sebastian?
Okay.
Go ahead. that all on that item for now? And
That's
like you
all for
said,
that
you'll bring it
item.
back for
It's a discussion item, and so we'll bring it for action in June.
That's correct, okay.
Thank you.
Okay, item 5 then. This is an action item. LCRA Transmission Services Corporation fiscal year 2026 business and capital plans. Again, Mr. Travis is back with us.
Yes, sir. We've got the, up for approval is the 2026 LCRA TSC Capital, Business and Capital Plan. Again, went through this in detail with the board. At the April work session, by approving this, you'll be approving our capital spending targets as well as our O&M expense targets, and be happy to answer any questions you may have on this one.
I'm sure each and every one of us here had the light reading that they prepared for us, and it's, and you've absorbed it all, and, but now's a good time to answer any questions or ask any questions rather that you may have. I think we have, and again, the staff's done an excellent job at preparing this. It was very easily, well, not easy to understand exactly, but it was easy to read through it. If they're, take my hat off to the hard work y'all put in. I know it's just a continuous effort, isn't it? Just,
Yes, sir.
Just keep it rolling. So at this time, we're ready to approve the business plan. Is there a motion?
So move.
Move motion?
Second.
We have a second. Further discussion on this item? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you very
Thank you,
much.
Mr. Travis. Good, thank you, thank your staff for all the hard work on this. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
everyone. Okay. Next action. Capital Improvement Project Approval. Mr. Josh Cole, how you doing today, sir?
I'm doing well, sir. How about yourself?
Man, this is just another day in paradise.
Yes, sir. Good morning, Chair Cooper, members of the board. I've got agenda item number 6, which I believe is on page 36 of your light reading materials. We've got 4 projects for consideration today, 3 service reliability projects and our annual general additions projects. And just as a reminder, after the board approves the annual capital budget for our capital plan, which you thankfully just did for us for next year, we bring individual projects for your consideration once we finalize the scope, design, and have more refined cost estimates. And that LCRA TSC regulator rates will will provide revenues for these projects once they're complete, and they've been considered and approved by the Public Utility Commission of Texas. With that, I'll go over each one of these projects. Feel free to stop me and ask questions if you've got them. Up first is a Battery Systems FY 2025 substation upgrade. This will update the battery bank systems at 14 substations spread across our service territory over 11 counties. As the name suggests, we assess these sort of system needs on an annual basis, and we'll bring projects in an efficient manner to do multiple sites at the same time. This necessary work will improve the reliability of stations by replacing batteries, chargers, and other related hardware. The recommended completion date is May 15th of 2026, and an estimated cost of $4.3 million. Second on our list, and really these next 2 are pretty similar, so I'll go through them in sequence and take questions if you got them after the fact. Bluffton to Buchanan transmission line overhaul. It's a 6.9-mile line between the Bluffton and Buchanan substations, so along the west side of Lake Buchanan. This will replace the structures and conductor as well as add optical ground wire. You may have heard that called OPGW or fiber. We love our acronyms around here. Along the totality of that 6.9 miles. As a note, this conductor was originally installed in 1965 on this particular line. So it's been in service, providing great service for a long time, but it's time to put some new conductor up. The recommended completion date for this project is June 30th of 2026. At an estimated cost of $28.3 million. And if we head west from there over to Mason County, we've got Fredonia to Mason transmission line overhaul. Very similar project, 11 miles on this particular one. Also replaces structures and conductor and install the optical ground wire on this line. This conductor was put up in 1976, so a little bit newer than the previous one, but still time to come back, but necessary improvements. Recommended completion date also June 30th of 2026. Estimated cost of $41.1 million. And as an overview, the work on both of these lines is going to be done what we call energized. So the service will continue to flow through the old conductor while we put up new structures, string the new conductor, and then the load will be transferred over as we move through the 6.9 and 11 miles respectively. Happy to answer any questions on those two.
Questions?
Normal life of these projects is 40, 50, 60 years?
It sure does depend. In an ideal circumstance where you don't need to upgrade the conductor, you can get that sort of life out of some of these installations. As we've seen the growth throughout Texas, that we've had to come back sooner than that to upgrade the capacity within that system.
But with this new wire we're using and stuff, that ought to last even longer, huh?
We would hope so, but it's still probably in that same time frame. And again, it'll be driven by the needs of the system as we assess those going forward.
Other questions?
With all the talk of batteries in the press these days, it might explain a little of that first. That's just batteries to support the controls. It's not the big wholesale batteries. It's in the press so much these days.
Yes, sir.
The only batteries that we, that fit that profile, we have a purchase power agreement with a project near Waco for north of 100 megawatts on the power side. This is all for internal operational issues for reliability and keeping the system operating. Would add to that.
Absolutely. Great distinction.
Other questions? Well, after discussing,
Got one more for you, Chair Cooper.
go ahead. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, one more. Bill.
Yes,
Go
sir.
ahead.
I had to flip my page over too, so I almost forgot.
Okay, you're
But
good.
it is our
Thank you.
annual general additions project. And
worries.
this project funds necessary system improvements that are just unknown at this time. And these are minor system improvements. If we need to accommodate load increases, we have failed equipment at our particular substations within our system, or we need to go do what we call an easement enhancement, so get some real estate moving ahead of a project that's coming. This funds those activities. This provides the financial authority up to $9 million for those types of projects, and then we do have an internal process that reviews the scope of each one of those prior to us actually starting work on those. Recommended estimated cost for those $9 million with a completion date of June 30th of 2026. And now I've got it.
Thank you. Well, I know this is not big enough for you, Bobby. You can just stay asleep for now. We'll wake you up when it's time. That's good. So I need a motion.
So moved.
Second? Second. Director Wilman? Any further questions, comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, sir. Okay, next action item, excuse me. Acquisition of interest in real property, use of eminent domain in Mason County. Mr. Summerall, how are you doing, sir?
Good morning, Chair Cooper,
you,
members
sir.
of the board. The first real estate agenda item before you is a request for the authorization for the use of the power of eminent domain in Mason County in support of the Fredonia to Mason Transmission Line Overhaul Project, T289, which Josh just mentioned. This project will provide for the continued safe and reliable transmission of electric energy on the Fredonia to Mason transmission line. This transmission line is one of 7 that were purchased as a portfolio acquisition from Central Texas Electric Cooperative, CETC, back in 2019. And as Josh mentioned, the original facility there dates back to the 1970s, and when we acquired that facility, we also acquired the underlying easements, which also date back to the 1970s. The item before you, in the item before you, we are generally amending those historic easements for additional rights related to the reconstruction of that transmission line. This request includes 4 easement amendments that are required for that project. As always, we seek board authorization to proceed with condemnation only when an agreement cannot be reached with landowners, and we work continuously to reach an agreement when possible. Staff recommends approval of this item, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Questions? We have a motion? Second. Have a second? All in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Summerall. Appreciate it. Okay, so we have, the next one will be acquisition of interest in real property, use of eminent domain in Gillespie County. Mr. Summerall again.
Yes, sir. The next real estate agenda item before you is a request for the authorization for the use of the power of eminent domain in Gillespie County in support of the Doss to Headwaters Transmission Line Addition Project, T508. This project will provide for the continued and safe, reliable transmission of electric energy on that transmission line. This transmission line was also part of that portfolio acquisition that I mentioned in the previous item from CTEC. And in this case, the original easements date back to the 1960s. We are generally amending these historic easement for additional rights related to the reconstruction of that transmission line. And the request before you this morning includes 33 easement amendments and aerial right acquisitions required for the project. To ensure that this project is completed on schedule, we seek board authorization to proceed with condemnation only if agreements cannot be reached with each landowner. Staff also recommends approval of this item, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Questions for Mr. Summerall? Pretty straightforward. Have a motion?
So moved.
One or the other. Second. There we go. We'll get to them. Y'all figure it out, okay?
In sync.
Sir?
I've got it.
You got it? Okay.
Yeah, and then to Director Kelly's question a minute ago, and I think Mark just did a really nice job of going through this. We bought CTC in 2019 for the two projects y'all voted on today and some of the stuff Josh talked about. We got an older asset where we didn't have our system kind of specs and diagrams and structures and all those kinds of things. So as we've gone through our process, like we always do, particularly on these, their easements didn't conform to how we do easements. They didn't have the structures we want to have from a go-forward standpoint, reliability, investment standpoint. So we're going to try to make this as uniform as we can for ourselves, and that's part of this process. So some of it may be old, some of it just needs to be updated, some may not be as reliable as we want it to be, so we're going through the whole exercise, and now it's time, especially for CTEC, as we're making the investments as we're heading west. We made that acquisition 6 years ago. Hope that kind of clarifies the scope of what Josh brought for part of it and then what Martin just went through as well. Yes, sir.
Question on unrelated, or back to where we were on the 765. What kind of, obviously your easement's going to be wider. What kind of challenges is that going to face?
We're going to do that in executive session.
Are we?
Yes, sir.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Good question. Any other questions? This time. Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Mark. Appreciate it. Okay, this time staff and guests may be excused while we read ourselves into the LCRA TSC Board executive session. We will now, do I need to wait? No. We will now go into executive session of the LCRA TSC Board of Directors pursuant to sections 551.071, 551.072, 551.074, 551.076, 551.086, 551.089, and 418.183F of the Texas Government Code. Today's date is Wednesday, May 21st, 2025, and the time is 9:42. Okay. This time we will exit our executive session, and the time is 10:29. Is there anything else to come before this meeting of LCRA TSC?
No, sir.
Okay. Being none, we will adjourn at 10:29. Thank you very much.